Hello and welcome. I'm a hotel AI expert, and I'm really pleased to be here with all of you, the students of Europe Hotel School. Think of me as your guide as we explore one of the most critical aspects of modern hotel management, internal controls. Let's get started on this essential part of your learning journey. We're not just going to be talking about theory today. My goal here is to equip you with practical, actionable knowledge that you can use from day one in a real hotel. We're here to support your professional growth and set you up for success. All right, let's take a quick look at our program. We're going to cover 5 key areas. We'll kick things off with the why, the hotel control imperative. Then we'll break down the difference between monitoring and control testing. After that, we'll see these controls in action in daily operations, tackle the tricky subject of objective oversight, and wrap it all up by talking about how to build a real culture of stewardship. So let's start with that fundamental question. Why do we even need such an intense focus on controls? Well, it's simple, really. Hotels are incredibly dynamic. A control that you put in place on Monday could be totally outdated or just ignored by Tuesday if it's not being actively managed. I mean, just think about it for a second. You've got constant guest interactions, demand that swings up and down every single day, and staff moving in and out of roles. In an environment like that, any control that isn't actively monitored just loses its punch. Ongoing observation is what keeps everything relevant and in sync with the realities you're facing on the ground. So, how do we manage all this effectively? Well, we rely on what I call the 2 pillars of assurance: ongoing monitoring and control testing. These two work hand in hand to make sure risks are being handled and that any little issues are caught nice and early. Let's take a closer look at each one. First up, we have ongoing monitoring. And look, this isn't some extra chore you tack on at the end of a long day. It's all about the routine. Day-to-day activities that supervisors and managers are already doing, things like daily report reviews and quick supervisory checks that are completely woven into the fabric of normal operations. And then, on the other hand, you have control testing. Now, this is a bit different. It's a more structured, periodic deep dive. It's a formal process where you kind of step back to make sure that the controls you've designed are not only the right ones for the job, but that they're also actually working effectively over time. So here's the best way to think about the distinction. Monitoring is like your daily health checkup. It's routine, it's happening all the time inside operations, and it's usually done by supervisors to catch small things. Control testing, then, is like your annual physical. It's a structured, separate evaluation done by management to confirm the whole system is designed well. You absolutely need both to be successful. They're not interchangeable. Okay, that's enough theory for now. It's great, but let's see how this stuff actually works in the real world. We're going to step into a few key departments of a hotel now and really put this theory into practice. Let's start at the front office. A manager's ongoing monitoring here would include things like reviewing daily revenue reports, checking those cash over in short summaries, and digging into any exception reports that pop out of the property management system. These are your frontline defenses against mistakes and funny business. Now let's head over to food and beverage. Here, monitoring is all about comparing what you sold to what you used. Does the number of steaks on the sales report actually match the number of steaks that left the freezer? It also means taking a hard look at all the voids and discounts to make sure they're legitimate and properly authorized. And it's pretty much the same story in housekeeping. Supervisors are keeping an eye on inventories of linens, toiletries, all that stuff. They're tracking how supplies are used, because any weird pattern could be a red flag for waste or even theft. And trust me, this kind of monitoring has a direct and immediate impact on controlling your costs. So, we've got our department managers monitoring their own teams. This all sounds great, right? But it brings us to a really critical challenge. How do you maintain objectivity? It's a fundamental question of oversight. And it leads us to that classic, age-old governance problem. Who watches the watchers? I mean, if people are only responsible for checking their own work, the risk of bias or just accidentally overlooking something goes way, way up. So, what's the solution? Well, the solution is to build in layers of objectivity. First, you assign monitoring duties to supervisors who are independent of the process itself. Second, you conduct cross-departmental reviews to get a fresh set of eyes on things. Third, you use key performance indicators, or KPIs, to measure results against your targets. And finally, and this is a big one, you have to investigate any unexplained variances. Don't just make a note and move on. Dig in. And through all of this, and I cannot stress this enough, you have to document everything. Your records of reviews, your findings, what you did about them. That's not just busy work. That's your evidence. It shows a commitment to control, and it proves you've done your due diligence, which is absolutely essential if an auditor ever comes knocking. All these procedures we've talked about, from the daily checks to the formal tests, they're all building towards something bigger. This leads us to our final and maybe most important point. The ultimate goal here is to create a culture of stewardship. You see, an effective control system isn't really about catching people doing something wrong. It's about creating this powerful feedback loop. When you can spot weaknesses early and respond proactively, the entire organization just gets stronger and smarter over time. It reinforces the shared culture of accountability and responsibility. I want to leave you with this one core idea. If you remember nothing else, monitoring is not about distrust. It is about stewardship. It's about making sure that the hotel's resources, its money, its reputation, its assets are protected and used responsibly by everyone on the team. And that really brings us to the end. The real takeaway is this question for you to think about as you move forward. It's not just about knowing how to implement controls, it's about inspiring a mindset. So as a future leader, how will you build that powerful culture of stewardship in your hotel? Thank you for your time.